Alright, section 1.5.1. Yes, we've skipped section 4. Section 4 is about parameters. We've talked about parameters a little bit, so we're just not going to talk about it. We're going to skip on to 1.5.1, rearranging formulas. Now, we've talked about this a little bit before in the last chapter. Talked about how a literal equation is just an equation that involves two or more variables, right? And when you have two or more variables, it's important to remember how to solve for a specific one. So that's just what we're doing here. If you have something more than one variable, you can rearrange it so that you have a given variable on one side. So let's just jump on down to solving for the indicated variable. Example number 1. Got 3 different versions here. Alright, I have this equation 6y minus 12x equals 18. We want to solve that for y, which means we want y to be all by itself, right? Now you may be thinking, okay, wow, this sounds complicated, but remember, if we want y to be all by itself, then that's the only thing we consider to be a variable, right? We consider everything else to just be a constant or a coefficient, and we just start getting stuff away from y using our properties of equality. So we will start by adding 12x to both sides. Yeah, those cancel out. And I'm left with 6y on this side. Now on the other side, you're absolutely right, those are unalike terms, so I can't actually add those, but I can write them next to each other, 12x plus 18. Or 18 plus 12x, right? Commutative property says I can write that either way. Alright, y is almost by itself. I'll use that division property of equality now. Divide by 6 to both sides. And when I divide by 6 to both sides, I'm essentially dividing by 6 to everything, right? So not just the y and the 18, I'm dividing it also to the 12x. So I end up with y is equal to 2x plus 3. And I've solved the equation for y. Yes, on the right-hand side, there is still 2 different terms. One of them contains a variable, and maybe that's useful, maybe that's not. But I've done what they asked. I solved for y. Okay, let's try it again with this one here. I've got 15x minus 5y equals 25. We're going to solve it again for y. So again, y is the only thing that I consider to be important in a sense. That's the one I want to get by itself. So I'll start as far away from the variables I can, the indicated variables I can, and I'll subtract 15x to both sides. That goes away. I end up with negative 5y is equal to negative 15x plus 25. Now I hope you can see why I keep writing it this way. It's because that's our y equals mx plus b form, right? We end up with something that looks like y equals mx plus b. That's why I want to write it this way, but again, that's not the most important. I could also write this as 25 minus 15x. Nothing illegal about that. Commutative property says I can do that. Now I just divide by negative 5 to both sides. Those cancel, I'm left with y. Negative 15x divided by negative 5 would be positive 3x. So 3x. 25 divided by negative 5 would be a minus 5, and I get 3x minus 5. Alrighty. Hopefully this is starting to come back to you, right? Starting to come back from the last chapter, making some more sense, right? So hopefully it is. I want you to try out this last one to just prove it to yourself that you do know what you're doing. So try out this last one. Solve 4y plus 3x equals 16 for y. So solve that for y. Don't even need to pause the video because it's so short. Alrighty, so hopefully you started by saying, okay, this is the one I wanted. Subtract 3x from both sides. You get 4y is equal to minus 3x plus 16. Divide by 4 to all 3. Y is equal to negative 3/4 x plus 4. Yeah, I didn't end up with a perfect, nice, even number in the m spot in the slope, but that's okay. Slopes are more useful as fractions anyways, right? So that should have gotten y equals negative 3/4x plus 4. Fantastic. So hopefully this is coming back to you. We're going to keep going over on example 2. So go ahead and turn the page over to example 2. Solve for the indicated variable. This time we're not solving for y. As important as that is, that's the one you'll see most often. these are also rearranging, right? We've seen, as in the last chapter, there's a lot of other things that you can rearrange. So let's practice this a few more times. I have P capital RL over 5 equals K, and I want to solve that for R. Now, is it absolutely vital that I know what P, R, L, and K stand for? No, right? In fact, I made this equation up on the spot. So this, it doesn't really matter what it means. It matters, at least in this context, it matters that I just know which one I want to be all by itself. I want capital R to be all by itself. So capital R is right there, chilling in between P and L. I need to start getting rid of stuff around it. Well, the farthest thing, in a sense, from the variable would be that divided by 5. So I'm going to, well, first I'm just going to rewrite it. In order to get rid of a divided by 5, I can counter with a multiply by 5 to both sides. Those two cancel. I'm left with P capital RL is equal to 5K. Now I can divide by the two things being multiplied. I can do it in one step like I am now, or I can do it in 2 steps. I could divide by P, and then I could divide by L, but if I want to save some time, I can divide by both at the same time. I'm left with R is equal to 5K over PL. I have solved for the indicated variable. Cool. Alrighty, hopefully that was pretty straightforward. Let's try this one now. Perimeter is equal to 2 length plus 2 width, right? And I happen to know what that one means. If that's actually a formula that I could use. However, this one, again, that's not vital information. If you're not super clear about what a formula is, you don't have to panic. Your rules apply no matter what, right? Your properties of equality apply no matter what. So you guys go ahead and solve this one out. Go ahead and find out what does W equal. Solve it for W. Alright, hopefully you had some time to solve it. I'm going to start, okay, so here's my indicated variable, right? I'm going to start as far away from that variable as I can. That's the 2L. Subtract that 2L to both sides. So I have P minus 2L equals 2W. Now I can't actually combine these like terms, right, because they're not like terms, pardon me. I can't combine these terms at all because they're not alike. There's P and there's an L. Those are 2 different types of variables. And that's okay. Instead, what I'll do is divide by 2 because I want W by itself. So P minus 2L over 2 is equal to W. I have solved for W. Fantastic. All done. Hopefully you got the same thing. Alright, so that should have all been mostly review. You should have been able to figure that out. Let's take a look at a few word problems now. Example number 3. The formula for finding area of a triangle is A is equal to 1/2 BH. Now, I don't really know what that means yet, so let's keep reading. Where B is the length of the base, and H is the height of the triangle. Oh, okay, so that's what B and H and A stand for. A is area, B is base, H is height. Excuse me. Suppose you know the area. Okay, so I know the area, and I know the height. Okay, but you need to find the length of the base. In this case, solving the formula for B would be helpful. Okay. So why don't we go ahead and do that? I have the area. I know area is equal to 1/2 base times height, right? Now, they don't actually tell me the area, but I know I have it, and I know I have the height. So what would be easiest is if I solve it for B, and then I can just plug it in, right? So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go one at a time. So I'm going to start as far away, quote unquote, as I can. I'm going to start with the H. I have multiply by H, so let's divide by H to both sides. Those H's now cancel. I end up with A over H is equal to 1/2 B. Alrighty. I'm going to kind of look at this slightly different. I'm going to look at this as A over H is equal to B over 2, right? Because that's the same thing, definitely the same thing. And then I notice this is B divided by 2, so I can counter with a multiply by 2. Those cancel out. So now I'm just left with B over here, which is awesome. So now I have 2A over H is equal to B. And there I have solved. So now if I know A is 5 and H is 1, I can just go ahead, plug that in, solve it for 10, right? Whatever it is, or however it works. But that would be how you solve for B. All right, let's try the next one. Actually, actually, I'm going to let you guys try this on your own, but let's read it together. The distance d that a train can travel is found by multiplying the rate of speed, r, by the amount of time it is traveling, t. Or, that is a typo, d is equal to rt. D is equal to rt. Solve this formula for t and add to find the amount of the time the train will travel given a specific distance and rate of speed. So you go ahead and solve this problem. Do what they are asking you to do. Alrighty, so we have this specific formula. D is equal to RT, right? D is equal to RT. And they want us to solve for T. Solve for T, right? Hopefully you were able to pull that out of the problem, right? You used your underlining skills, your translating skills, right? Because if you can't do that, you're never going to be able to solve any of these word problems, and the unit test is going to be very hard. So now that we have our equation, we know we're solving this for T. Let's go ahead and do that. Everything else is considered unimportant at this point, right? So I just want T by itself. T is the only thing I want by itself. So I can divide both sides by what's sitting in front of T. Kind of like if I said D equals 2T, right? I could do the same thing because variables really aren't that important. They're just numbers we don't know. And so I end up with these guys canceling. It looks like T is equal to D over R. In other words, time is equal to distance over rate. And I have done what they asked. Very simple, straightforward problem. Let's try one more. One more. Example number 5. The formula N equals 7LH is used to determine N, the number of bricks needed to build a wall, that is L feet in length and H feet in height. So, right, just looking at this equation, I had no idea what that meant, right? N is equal to 7LH. Okay, what does that mean? Panic? No, it means keep reading, right? Because usually 9 times out of 10, they will actually define things for you. N is the number of bricks, and L is the feet in length, and H is the feet in height, right? So feet high. A customer would like the wall constructed that is 4 feet high. If the bricklayer wants to use, all 1,820 bricks that he has readily available, how long will the wall be? Interesting. Alright, so it looks like we are going to have to solve for a variable, but which variable? That's the question. Let's take a look right here at the question. How long will the wall be? What variable is that? Well, we can look back. N was the number of bricks, X was the length, and H was the height. Looks like we are solving for N. So we need N, right? Let's take our formula. I'm sorry, we don't need N. Just kidding. We need L. Silly Miss K. We don't need number of bricks. We need length, right? We need length. So we'll solve this formula for L. It's already solved for N. We need L to be by itself. So let's go ahead and do that. I've got 2 things being multiplied, so I can divide by 7 and divide by H. That way they cancel out and I'm left with L, right? What I do to one side, I must do to the other. So divide by 7H. So it looks like L is equal to N over 7H. That's my new plugged in formula. Now I know some things. Now the reason I wanted to solve for L was it because it was the only thing I didn't know anything about, right? It was the only thing that I didn't have a number for. So let's now take this new equation. L is equal to N over 7H. And let's plug in some values we know. Well, we know that N, the number of bricks, is 1,820 over 4 feet high. So 7 times 4. That's going to be our L. We crunch that out. 1,820 divided by, well, 7 times 4 is 28. So L is equal to 65. Translate back. Got to translate back. So this length is going to be 65 feet long. And we can see how rearranging a formula helps us to solve for the one that we need, right? Alrighty. Extremely short chapter today because, first off, this is a very important chapter. It gets its own day because you really need to know how to rearrange formulas. Really need to know how to do that. Especially when you have stuff like this, because our next couple chapters, you're going to be getting a lot of different types of formulas that you need to rearrange into something you can actually graph. Okay, so please make sure you know how to do this. But in addition, we also have our unit test coming up. So you need to take this time now to study, get questions answered. You may work on your homework. It, I believe, is a worksheet we're going to be passing out. And if you have any questions at all, you need to use this day to get them answered, okay? You need to email me, you need to talk to the sub. Do not use this as a free day, even though it was a short chapter day. Some of you might be able to finish your homework, and in fact, most of you should be able to finish your homework. And then from there, you can either ask for the review or bonus, work on those, or you can use other homework and get your questions answered, okay? Alrighty, that was pretty much it. So I will see you guys after the unit test.